When this photograph first came into our hands, no one could quite understand what we were looking at. It was black and white, stained, scorched by a picture of a small boy. His eyes were unnaturally still, not focused on the camera, but seemingly fixed on someone standing behind it. The darkness in the background was unusually dense, and within that darkness, faint shapes slowly began to emerge, figures resembling people, yet not entirely human. This was not a scene from a movie. It was not. I generated art. The photograph was discovered inside an abandoned file dated 1919. There was no name, no caption, only a single date written beneath it. November The house from which the photograph was recovered no longer exists. It once stood on the edge of the city and was demolished decades ago. But even before that, no one wanted to live there. Locals referred to it as the Shadow House. Strangely, this name didn't come from folklore. It came from official records. In an old municipal file, a line read, "After sunset, abnormal shadow movements have been observed inside the premises. There is no birth certificate for the boy in the photograph. His name doesn't appear in any nearby school registers. Yet, several personnel diaries from the same period mention a silent boy. The writers described a child who never spoke, never smiled, and was never seen playing. He only stood still just as he stands in the photograph. And wherever he stood, the light around him seemed to dim unnaturally." A closer look at the image reveals that the shadows behind the boy are not random. They appear posed, one resembling an elderly man, another a woman, and a third with a face so distorted it barely looks human. During a negative analysis of the photograph, researchers noticed something disturbing. The temperature of those shadows was lower than that of the boy's body. In other words, when the photo was taken, something was present that did not carry the warmth of a living human being. Within a week of the photograph being taken, the house's last resident vanished. There were no signs of struggle, no broken furniture, no clues except for a few lines scratched into a corner of the wall. They stand behind me. At the time, police dismissed it as a mental delusion, but later, the same words were found written in 2 other houses, where similar dark photographs had surfaced. The most unsettling part is what happens to people who stare at the photograph for too long. Some report waking up in the middle of the night with the strong feeling that someone is standing behind them. Others claim that their reflection in the mirror doesn't move correctly. A few insist that if you keep looking at the picture, you can hear something very faint, like the sound of a child breathing. One researcher who worked extensively on the photograph wrote in his notes, "The boy's gaze is unnatural. He does not seem to be looking at the living, but at something beyond our perception." 3 days after writing this, he abruptly abandoned the research. Later, his colleagues said he repeatedly claimed that the boy was no longer inside the photograph. Even today, the imagery surfaces on the internet from time to time, and every time it does, stories of strange incidents follow. Some say that after downloading the image, their phone camera turns on by itself at exactly 3 a.m. Others say that after shutting it, they receive missed calls from unknown numbers traced back to addresses of houses they lived in long ago. There is debate about the authenticity of this story. Doubt, skepticism, and disbelief all exists. But one question remains unanswered. If this is just an ordinary old photograph, why are there so many similar experiences reported across different times and places? And the most important question of all, who is the boy in the photograph really looking at? US? Or someone standing silently behind us? If, after reading this, the lights in your room suddenly grow dim, or you feel an inexplicable presence at your back, do not turn around. Because in the old records, written in very small letters, there was only one warning.